Hello and welcome to another episode of Kohler Commentary. Today I have smiles all across my face because I'm joined by one of my bestest friends, Stephanie Kim, and her dear husband, Hanur. Hanur. Hello.
Happy to be here.
Welcome. Are you happy too?
I'm ecstatic.
Great. How we're connected, Steph and I met at the first party I've ever been to, right before college started. And we connected over being PR majors at UT.
Yep.
I still remember after that, we had our first one-on-one lunch, and I just dumped my heart and soul to her because I was going through a sad little breakup. And later I found out she was like, wow, Unji, you just go deep real quick, you know? And you know what now? It's the Enneagram. And then I knew Hannah in high school, in a sense. Hung out once with him for other reasons.
That's all you needed.
Way back then.
One and done.
And then years later, reconnected because he found his better half in my better half. And that's when all the trouble started. So welcome, guys.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Are you? Okay, so let's get to the point. They in a very healthy season, which means they have booked their calendar very tight. So we have no time to spare. Give us a brief overview of your dating life. When did you guys? Oh my gosh,
how it all started?
he's. Oh my god, yeah. It's a very unique meet cute. Yeah.
It is. You want me to say it? So we met technically through his younger sister, and she was my friend in college. We were in the same class together, and then she introduced us, or kind of talked about the other to the other person, if that makes sense. Talked about me to him, talked about him to me, and then all that to say, we ended up being on the same flight to Korea that summer. And you and I were there that same summer.
Yeah.
And
always
so
matcha choing.
we met literally at the airport lounge of Korean Air, and obviously it was not love at first sight.
Obviously, why?
Yeah, why is that obvious, Hunter? What did I look like?
You know those people who are very comfortable when they get on a plane? That was Steph. She had pimple cream on, sweatshirt, sweatpants, flip-flops.
Oily
she was
hair.
not.
So daily marriage.
Yeah, it was foreshadowing. I should have caught on earlier.
Yes, but that's how we met. We were friends in Korea. We were friends, I think, throughout the school year too, and then started dating a year later. So
Why?
kind of talked.
Why did it take so long?
Because Steph was abroad in China that summer. I was going to school in New Jersey. And so we were just keeping in touch. Some would say I was flirting with her. That's what Steph says. I was just conversing. And
No,
then,
he was very flirty, and you know his style.
Oh, not personally. I just know the style.
But you know what I'm talking about.
and then she came back after her study abroad to Austin. And we decided just to meet up. And that took about a year.
It took a long ass time, okay? He did not it took. I didn't even know if he liked me. It I kind of forced him to tell me.
I remember that.
Yes, I cornered him without knowing I was cornering him. But then all that to say, we started dating a year after that.
And what was it about each other? Maybe one thing pre-marriage that attracted you to each other, that wanted you to date.
Well, I thought she was very beautiful. And
After the pimple cream,
after the pimple cream. And then she was also had a great personality. Still does, but her personality was very bright, very engaging. You know, when you can just tell someone's really nice and that's their true self. That's what, I got a quick glimpse of that when I first met her, and so that's what attracted me.
And why did you corner him? Why did you want to know so badly if he liked you?
Well, I didn't mean to find out. I was just annoyed that he was so flirty with me, because I had heard through the grapevine he talks to a lot of girls. He's just kind of problematic in that area.
Okay, the grapevine is Inji. Inji is the grapevine.
No, That's not true. You know that's not true.
I only knew one girl in high school. I didn't know you.
Exactly. It was my.
We lost. We were a one and done friendship. How could I know more?
Someone I met, like actually in my study abroad.
Yeah,
remember?
yeah.
And she was like, "Oh, I was like, wait, what?"
Yeah.
Wild story. That's anyway.
Yeah.
I heard through many different grapevines. So when he was being very flirty with me, I was like, I think I was kind of like offended. I was like, I'm not just some girl you can just like I thought we were friends, you know. And he's trying to like, I guess, include me in his little list of girls he's gonna flirt with. I don't know. And then I think I asked him like, oh well, like, you know, you shouldn't talk to so many girls. And he was like, I think he was very taken aback. I was like, that's not okay. And then he was like, well, something tried to film himself. Well, I was like, how many girls are you talking to? And he was like, well, I'm talking to 2. And then he was like, well, how many guys are you talking to me? I was like, well, I'm talking to 0. And he was like, oh. He's like, I guess I'm just talking to 1. Literally, that's how he told me.
Wait, so he was talking to 2 girls? Wait.
I guess so. He told me 2. And then I said 0, and then he said, never mind, at 1. So I was one of the 2 girls.
So that sounds a little problematic. What made you want to say yes to a further relationship? Mine
are very superficial reasons. Okay, first of all, I will say, like I mentioned, I was close to his younger sister, and I like had a really good impression of her, first of all. And I know that she was like fairly close to him. Like she really liked her brother. So there was a sense of like, I really like her, and like I can only imagine like how much of that and like their family culture like bleeds to him. That was like already like a good sign. The second thing was he was really funny. Like his humor, I think a lot of people who know Hanur like cannot deny he's a funny guy. So I will say like that was very attractive. And then he's tall. Oh, and I hadn't dated a jock yet, but he's a jock, you know.
That's right.
So
You
I was
had
very
more of
like
the
intrigued by that.
artist.
Yes, I dated more of like the artiste guys. I dated like a gangster kind of guy. But like Hanur was my first like preppy like jock boy, so it was very new and interesting for me.
All right, so, you know, we could have a whole nother podcast session on your dating life, so that's where we'll end there. But if you could describe marriage 3 years ago in 3 words each, what would they be?
3 years ago?
3 years ago, 3 words. So I would say blind, emotional, and clueless.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, similar. Naive. Yeah, I literally thought of like naive and immature, but I did think of like very like giddy. Okay. You know, we were very in love.
That's still in
yeah,
there,
like immature, giddy, but naive. Yeah.
And you guys have been married for 4 years.
4. Yeah.
And then what about today? What does marriage look like today?
Grounded, still emotional, but I would say like partnership.
Oh, I love those words.
We've come a long way in 4 years.
Ooh, okay. 3 words for now. Yeah, I would actually say healthy as one of the words. I like grounded. That's a good word.
And we're gonna have Steph go in the future first.
I know. I just keep trying to like use his words. Healthy, laughing, because we laugh a lot nowadays.
So from
there was a
giddy
season
to
where we
laughter.
didn't, you know,
right.
where we didn't laugh for a few months there, maybe longer. So a lot of laughing, healthy, and open.
Is that the one he just whispered into
No,
your ear?
I thought on my own. Like we're very open, which I think we weren't before. We were a lot more calculative.
Oh, with each other?
Yes.
Okay.
Open with
I
each
think
other.
Like open to go to concerts on a whim.
No.
Living the life.
Yeah, that too.
What word did he just whisper to you?
Communication.
Oh, great. And okay. All right. So I love that you guys shared that. And you guys seem to be on the same page as well about the words that have transitioned over time. And so the topic that we're going to be starting with in my new Enneagram series is the paths, the growth path, the stress path, what we might look like in different seasons of our life. And so I know that there can be many things we can pull from, but for this time, I wanted to talk to you guys about the earlier years of marriage, what might have led to some of the words that you guys shared, and then how through the growth you guys have experienced both separately and together is where you are today. Okay. Mm-hmm. So, what did you think your Enneagrams were, first of all?
So I thought mine was a 9.
Yeah.
Mine was a 9. So Steph and I, my
Paid for this, by the
my
way.
younger sister had told us about Enneagrams maybe 3 years.
Youngest.
My youngest, not the one that introduced us, but the youngest one introduced us to Enneagrams about 3 years ago. And then so we took a paid one through like the Enneagram Institute. And at that time, which was around the beginning of our marriage, it said that mine was majority 9, and then a close second was Enneagram 3.
Well, can I be really honest with you, Angie? So, like he said, we took the paid test, right? And I got a lot of like even top results. Like my scores didn't have a first one. I think it was like 2 and 7 were high, but then like 1 point below it was like, I honestly don't remember. It was like 4 different numbers that were pretty close. And I remember feeling like none of them resonated, to be honest with you. Like I read all the descriptions and I kind of resonated with all of them and none of them at the same time, which is why like talking to you was life-changing for me, because I was like, I don't think Enneagram is for everybody. Like I was like, I don't get it.
Yeah.
Until I sat down with you and I was like, whoa, okay. It helped me a lot. Yeah.
Oh, thank you for that little plug.
Promo.
Yeah, so when I, getting really passionate about the Enneagram, and they visited about in November of last year, definitely wanted to have those conversations. And so I was excited to hang out with you guys. And you guys pulled up the test then, and you had the 9, Hunter. And I was like, I don't think you're a 9 though. And then so when I looked through your results, and like you said, 3 was a close second, I was like, you're so obviously a 3 though. But don't want to push it on people. And so we went through it, and it was just like aha for him, that I don't want to speak for you, but like you had been a 9 because a 9 is in the path of a 3. So basically an Enneagram 3, when they are in stress or seasons of unhealth, they might look like an Enneagram 9 in a lot of characteristics. And so when we went through it together, it was like, oh my goodness, yes. But now that you are in this healthy place, you see yourself more in your original design of the 3. So can I have you speak on that first, and what that kind of looked like? Because you had already done a lot of work before that. So this was just kind of a way to culminize. Is that a word?
Culminize, no. It's not. To culminate is a word.
Colonize and culminate together.
So yeah, to Angie's point, I thought it was very eye-opening that she told me that I'm an obvious 3, and I didn't understand why. But as she was going through the characteristics of a 3, I realized that I had a lot of flashbacks because I was taking a break for about 10 months from working. Was very burnt out. Mental health was not good. Had negative effects on relationships, especially with Steph, my wife, and friends and family. And so at the time I was talking to a psychiatrist, and he had asked me, when's the last time you were happy for a week, like just consistently? And I'm 32. Back then I was 31. And I told him the last time I remember that was probably in high school. So that was 13 years ago, 14 years ago, where I remember just being like in a good mood, feeling positive, like happy every day. And having that realization, and then Inji bringing up to me about now that I was in a better, fast forward 8-9 months, and Inji telling me I'm a 3, looking at the characteristics, those characteristics of a 3 were very much how I felt like when I was in high school. And so I think that helped me really connect the dots on, that was who I really am as a person, and who I recognize myself with a lot more. And so, I looked at Inji and I was like, yeah, I think you're right.
Love to hear that.
No, Unji, that's the story I've been telling everybody. I'm like, it's so freaky, because you were like, I feel like you're a 3. And then you're like, but you might not be. And then you're like, and sometimes when 3s are unhealthy, they can test as 9s. And then when Hunter did realize, like, he resonates so much with the 3, it kind of freaked us out, because he tested as a 9. It's so crazy.
Yeah, because when 9s are healthy, they can look like a 3. So I understand why, I don't want to like assume right away. But, that's where we go back to our core others. And when you can remember in childhood, right, that's when those things are developing. So just a side note, as type 3s move towards unhealth in a 9, they can look more like shutting down, numbing out, doing busy work just to look like they're not being lazy. Even if you're not able to focus, they might be more withdrawing and could become depressed, losing interest in accomplishing, and they tend to resist others and want to be left alone, which is hard because for 3s, they love kind of like, doesn't mean they're all extroverted, but they do love that like attention, not like attention in a selfish way, but that's their natural way of walking out, right? And so what can you share if you resonate with any of these, if this looked like you at all, maybe even if the wife is looking
I mean, like, it's so accurate.
Yeah, I think for 3, and again, this is just the closest reference point for me was 13 years ago in high school.
Yeah.
And so I was just like thinking back, and I really liked attention. And I think obviously like good attention is better. And I think I really thrived off of that. I don't know if that's necessarily, a good thing to strive only for attention from others or seek affirmation from others. But regardless, I knew that like at my core, that was what really drove me a lot. And I felt like since then I wasn't getting a lot, and then I wasn't kind of caught in a cycle of, I don't think people really like me, or I don't like how I'm viewed or how I'm projecting myself. And then I turned into a cycle of closing off, being less connected to people, wanting to hang out, wanting to talk about just life. Like it would be very short, surface level conversations, up until I quit. And I think the big thing for me was just forcing myself to open up and realizing that people like me for who I am, not for the image that I try and project. And me just opening up about being burnt out, quitting. I had a good job at a big tech company, and like just quit. And I think I was worried about what people would think about me, and I think was worried about what the stigma around like mental health would be. But after telling people and people being so supportive and almost like jealous that I was able to do that, it kind of, gave me that motivation to like speak more openly and connect. And I think that, sent me in a more of a positive cycle.
How did you respond, Steph, as you were realizing some of the things he was opening up to?
Like, you mean once he quit and it was like getting better? I was shocked. Like, I knew it would be good to quit. Obviously, who doesn't love quitting or like not working and, having some free time? But like seeing me, sorry, continue. That's a whole other podcast episode. But yeah, he was like so happy and like wanting to see people. And then I really thought, because for a long time he didn't want to tell people he was having a tough time. Right. So like, and it was like, even to me, he'd be like, don't tell people. And I'm going to respect that, I'm not going to like invade his privacy in that way. So whenever like he was like telling people very openly that he was, struggling mental health wise, and he like was having a hard time, and, like all these things, and so openly communicating that with like his friends and family, like I was very like touched, and even that in itself was progress. So I was like really proud of him and like very happy. I mean, that's how I was feeling. I mean, I was still working at the time, so I wasn't 100% happy.
Yeah, we'll be transitioning to that part.
But I was still very happy for him. Yeah,
right,
and proud of him. Yeah.
So then, to close up that part of it, though, Hanur, like as a man, an Asian American man, and the oldest, or like Changsun type of stuff, right, within your family, you don't have to go too deep into it. But as you were being open about mental health, can you share any like revelations or even trends or insights you might feel like why it is a lot harder even for men to even acknowledge the blind spots of emotions, or things that maybe sometimes women can be more like open to?
So there are a couple of kind of key moments, I think, in the last couple of years that really helped open my eyes. But I would start off by saying that maybe this is general overgeneralization for men, especially Korean American men, but I feel like we tend to be a bit more prideful. And so we don't realize that we have blind spots. And until you kind of have like an aha moment, however that is. And for me, it came about in two ways. The first one was we were on a ski trip right before COVID, and one of our friends had flown in from New York, and we're just kind of having guy talk, and he was telling me about this book he was reading from a French psychiatrist that talked about toxic masculinity. And it resonated a lot with me because it really focused a lot on how men perceive themselves and also how they feel like others perceive them, and how you get into a cycle of toxicity. And that resonated with me because I was starting to get like kind of an inkling of like, oh, is that me? Is that how I act? And asking myself those questions. And then once COVID started, my dad had gotten diagnosed with a bone marrow cancer. And so we had flown back home to stay with family, and I helped him with treatment, and I was able to get a lot of time with him and just kind of connect. And he was having a hard time just as a male, older male Korean person in America, because he just felt like he couldn't tell people and communicate how he was feeling, where he didn't have friends to just like, he had friends, but he just almost couldn't make himself open up to them.
Right.
And his perception of how people might view him, et cetera, the burdens he might be causing other people was, I almost saw that in myself a bit. And I think that really scared me, because I was like, oh, if my dad's like this, then I'm his son. Like, I will probably have a lot of these tendencies too, just from, my upbringing with him. And so I think those are the two moments where I kind of had that aha moment of like, oh, I need to be a bit more introspective and not let myself get there. Because one thing I was telling Steph is like, I'm really scared. Like, we've been married 4 years, and all of our family asks us when we're going to have kids. And that's not so much an issue, but I think the issue I was having before I quit was that if we have kids and I'm not better, then I might turn out like my dad. And I just never have got a chance to like reset or try and better myself, because I'm just going to be too busy. I'm going to be too busy with work, going to be too busy raising a kid. So I think that's what really pushed me to quit, along with Steph's support. And yeah, it happened really fast, but I think in the last couple of years, like, those are kind of the key moments for me.
Yeah, you achiever, you happened really fast.
Wait, but all that to say, he's not my dad, so I don't want to speak for him, but like, I still think he's like still like such a kind, loving, like amazing human. Right. You know what I mean? It's just that he didn't have the opportunity to work on his like mental health. You know, like, that's hard.
And I think even given the opportunity, a lot of our older generation would still turn it down, just because that's not how they were even shown that that's a possibility. So that is kind of like the cycle breaking that we get to charge on our own.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's amazing. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Oh, so funny, you guys. Okay, so last thing is, now you are in health or in growth, right? I think.
Hopefully.
And so you've entered therapy, you've done a lot of work, and not just like, I remember one of those testing factors was going to be once you start work again, because your sugar mama not going to let you play forever. So I remember that's kind of when we reconnected with all of this, is because you wanted to make sure you had those things in place so you don't fall back when it can get more pressuring as a male professional, like providing. So what has this season looked like right now? Do you see yourself still in that growth? Like, where do you see traits of when you can go back, and how do you have certain things in place to stop you from going into such a place of unhealth?
I started a new job in December. It's May right now, so I've been there for about 5-6 months. And overall, I would say I still feel healthy. I would caveat that by saying I don't feel as healthy as I was when I wasn't working, but that also I don't think was my expectation.
Right.
I knew it was going to be an up and down, but as long as it's still progressing and I'm still growing as a person, I think that was, my goal. And the biggest thing that I think has helped me was still like this partnership with Steph, which is like why I used that word earlier, because I think that has really solidified myself as I realized the person, as an Enneagram 3, I really care about what people think about me. Right. But at the end of the day, the person that matters most to me is what Steph thinks about me. And so having that partnership and being open with her and Yeah, that's what I care most about. And so the thing I keep leaning back is like, if I'm having a bad day at work where I'm having a hard time, in the past, I wouldn't tell Steph. But now I'm trying to be more open about it and being proactive and telling her, like, at a good day, at a bad day, this is why. And she's also given me affirmation by telling me that she's really proud of me for telling her. It makes her feel loved that I'm sharing them, that with her.
Oh, the threes need that.
Yeah, I need that. I need that. And so I think that's been really helpful. It's definitely it's like work in progress.
Yeah.
I need to set up my next session with Unji and just do another check-in. But overall, we're moving up and to the right. So that's good.
And when threes are in health, they move towards type 6 and they allow themselves to be more vulnerable. And so there's a lot of other things with that, but you're really touching upon the ability to do that, since rather than focusing on the image you portray, actually being authentic is what people want because you are loved for you. Fortunately, that also is an image people like about you. So, it goes like hand in hand. But
Thanks for reminding me. Yeah.
You want to say anything?
Sure. Yeah. So like while I was listening to him saying that, just like a funny anecdote is pre like Hanur getting better and like his mental health getting better at his old job or jobs. I kind of knew his position, like what role he was doing. I like kind of knew of his team size and like generally knew like the gender of his manager, like, oh, it's a woman or it's a man. Like that was pretty much it. Like and so I would look at like the other couples around me where I would see the husband tell their wife like, oh yeah, John, oh my gosh, he was so mad today. Like something happened. And I would look at that and think, wow, I don't even know my husband's coworkers' names or how many there are or like what the team even looks like or what kind of days they have. And so literally I was like in the dark. And even when he would have bad days or good days, I would have no idea. That was like years of that. The first few years of our marriage. Yeah. And he would go on business trips. Like I would ask how the trip went, like not much details there. Like he would post a lot of photos and tell me like funny anecdotes here and there. And now it's like night and day. Like I literally know if he has a bad day, he'll be like, oh my gosh, yeah, I just had this meeting and like it was a really bad call because like I didn't feel prepared. Or like, oh yeah, I like talked to my manager today. It was really good. He gave me like this feedback. Like this is a new husband. Does that make sense? Like this is new for me too. Like he's never been this open to tell me about like his daily in and out, just how he's feeling or how it went. So I was like, yeah, of course. Like I want to give him affirmation. And like, I feel so loved. Like I feel like he is like including me in his life. Before I was just like someone that's outside of his life, but like I'm his wife and I'm there, Right. So that's been like awesome. Personally,
I love that. Yeah. The blind spot packet says expresses anxieties, complaints, and frustrations you might not typically reveal. And sometimes that can get dangerous, right? If it's only that. But if that's balanced with other things, like you're treating Steph like your true blind spot, right? The person you're most secure with. And the fact that you love to receive that and you get to experience that, which is something you've been curious, like, what do you do?
Exactly.
I remember when we were in Seattle, I was like, Steph, what does he do right now?
I was like, let me tell you. I was like, if I could tell you, I really would. I was like, I don't know.
If you think you might be feeling depressed, stressed, anxious, or overwhelmed, BetterHelp, the sponsor of this episode, is here for you. BetterHelp offers a broad range of over 20,000 licensed therapists who are trained to listen and help you. Plus, you can get 10% off your first month with my code, betterhelp.com/Kohler. With BetterHelp, you can talk to your therapist in a private online environment at your convenience, and all you have to do is fill out a questionnaire to help assess your specific needs before getting matched with a therapist in under 48 hours. Then you schedule secure video and phone sessions, plus you can exchange unlimited messages and everything you share is completely confidential. As a mom constantly working around Jaden's toddler schedule, having my weekly therapy online has been a complete game changer and a huge reason why I have made big steps to better my mental health for myself and for my family. You can also request a new therapist anytime at no additional charge. Join the 2 million plus people who have taken charge of their mental health with an experienced BetterHelp therapist. Don't forget to use my code to get that 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/Kohler. That's better, HELP.com/Kohler.
Okay, so let's transition to you, Steph, aka Trustuni.
Yes, Trustuni.
Trustuni. So before we get into all of that and how awesome of that season you're in right now, you were also trying to be supportive and doing that as best you could, but that doesn't mean you were healthy either.
Correct.
What were you dealing with on a personal level in the last few years?
Yeah, I think it was really hard. And that doesn't discount how hard of a season it was for Hanur too, right? But it was hard for me too because he was having a hard time. So I don't know what marriage is supposed to look like. This is my first marriage. Like, I don't know. And we're still new. Like, honestly, for like the first probably year or so, like, I didn't even know Hanur was unhealthy. I just thought he was like a really emotional, like irritable guy. It was like, dang. And like, I knew he had his dark sides and I just thought, but then he would also have his like great sides. So I was just like, okay. And then I think the time where I was like, something is seriously wrong was like, yeah, when he wasn't getting out of bed. Like, I mean, even like him not telling me about his work, that maybe for some wives would be like, okay, something's wrong, right? But I didn't know. I was just like, maybe husbands don't tell their wives. Like, I would see some that do, but then I just figured maybe some don't. It got to the point where he wasn't getting out of bed. And I was like, okay, there's no way this is normal. Like, there's bad stuff that happens, but like, this is like, something's wrong. So that's when like he and I kind of sat down when that had been going on maybe for a few months by that point, where he didn't even bring it up. I think he was too ashamed to even come up to me and be like, I need a mental health break, or I needed like, he didn't say anything. He just like would just be in his hole. So I kind of like brought him out and was like, okay, I think you need to quit. And I just think you need to like a few months, like work on yourself, like, cause something's wrong. Like something is terribly wrong here. And so I thought he would kind of fight me on it, but he was very like, I think you're right. Like, I think that was like the first time he felt very like helped, maybe like someone reaching out to him in that sense. And so we decided he would quit. And I actually thought too, like, with him quitting, it would all be like great and then he would find a job. But I didn't realize, like, subconsciously, like, it was hard for me. Like, even though he was getting better and he was happy, he was working on mental health, he was getting therapy, like all this stuff, he was resting, like, but like watching him rest while I'm like working my ass off. Am I allowed to say ass on here? I don't know.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to bleep that.
I think the first month was okay. And then like, as it started passing, like I was not okay. And I really quickly realized, like, oh my gosh, as much as me being able to be a supportive wife and helping him is awesome, this is a huge, huge burden on me. I didn't even know it was heavy. Probably after about 6 months since he'd quit, I was struggling. Like, I had been struggling. Let's be real. Like, if your husband's not okay for the last couple of years, like, it's already hard. But by the time he had quit and it had been like, I don't know, 4 to 6 months, everything made me mad. Like, I didn't want to see friends. My parents said when they would call me, they would say like my voice, like when I would pick up, like, even if I just say like 여보세요 or like hello, like they would ask like, are you okay? Like, every time, because I didn't even have that bad of a day. But in general, I think there was just a cloud over me. So they told me, you know, now that we've been better, like they're like, yeah, during those, I don't know, the last year or so, like we'd call you and we can just tell like something's wrong with you. Like, the way you answer your call is like different than it used to be. And I don't even think I realized it probably till later, that the burden of like, okay, I have to work and like, cause we still have a mortgage to pay. I also have to like help Hanur get better mentally. And like, you know, we're away from family. So like, I don't know, the support system of like a family is not really there. And we have amazing friends in Seattle, but it's different. You know what I mean? Like, and of course they loved on us in all the ways they could, but it's just different. So yeah, I kind of felt like I was in it all by myself. And like financially and emotionally, like I had to provide for our marriage and our household.
For sevens, Enneagram sevens, there is this desire to know that they will be taken care of. And then suddenly in this season, you have to do all the taking care of, right? And so there's definitely Hanur is loving. Thank you. You know, and so with that, you naturally do go to that seasons of unhealth. And I don't know how much you would want to share about that, but you did have like a toxic workload, right?
Yeah.
So I know like that wasn't helpful either
Yeah,
in
yeah.
like where you are growing professionally. I know every day was kind of like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I'll talk on that a little bit. So on top of just that being like in my family life, just like outside of work life was, yes, very intense. I was at a tech startup and there was a lot of toxicity there. Like every day, I mean, not every day, but a lot of days where if something was high intensity or high risk or like something could go wrong, like I was not okay because things could just escalate so quickly just because of startup culture and some personalities there. So I struggled a lot with that. So it was like everywhere I would turn, like there was some sort of burden or stress or something. So it was interesting, Angie, whenever I talked to you, where okay, honey's
I don't know if
being
you're
funny, but whenever I talked to you
Yeah.
and you were telling me about sevens, and then you told me like, oh, you know, sevens like as like free spirited and
Yeah.
whatever they are, like they have a desire to be taken care of. When you told me that, it was so jarring and comforting, like at the same time, because I just never pictured myself as someone who wanted to be taken care of. Like really, truly, as weird as that may sound, like I never thought about that. And then I like kind of sat with that for a bit. And I think it's because like it really spoke to me. Like there was a hidden part of me that I never realized I had, where it was like the burden of like not being taken care of at all and also having to take care of everything else, like was like a lot for me. So whenever you told me that, I was very like, it was very healing, to say the least. Like I reflected on that quite a bit.
Did you want to say something?
And for me as Steph's husband, yeah, I don't think Steph really realized that, but then the words that she would choose to use with me was that Steph she just kept telling me she's so tired. She's just exhausted. And I think she didn't know what was triggering it, but she knew how she felt. And around the time when we talked to you and G, we saw you, we were talking about Enneagrams, and you told me I'm a 3. You also met with Steph, and I remember you telling Steph, like, you're like, Steph, I'm very worried about you.
You remember that?
Yeah, no,
You were like,
and then when you guys left, I was like, I hope she knows, like, I'm really actually worried about you.
you looked so deep into my eyes, and you were like, Steph, I'm really worried about you.
And guys, by the way, this is a mom of 2 who's like already very, two babies, like emotionally, she's already like, there's more than enough going on for her, but she still felt this sadness and concern for Steph. Because, you know her as a friend, and you also know her as her Enneagram, and you're just like, I think you could just see how unhealthy she was too at that time.
Yeah.
Which was kind of ironic because I was doing so much better. So it was very yin and yang almost for us.
Yeah. When you're in blind spot, you turn to Hanur and you do talk more about your tiredness, and you're tired of always being the positive one or the energetic one. And I think that's because 7s can tend to repress those feelings of needing to, like, their emotional struggle, because they're always that upbeat person. And so I think even just coming to terms with recognizing what you were saying, like, I also need this, it just helps with that self-growth so much more. And so I think a way to just show that is now in this season, I hear that you had quit like soon after I had talked to you guys. And why? How did that happen? And how do you feel about all of that?
Okay, yes. So, Unji, when I met with you, we had a lot of like revelation moments. I did with you. It's like someone certified in something like Enneagram telling me, like, actually mentally, like, I'm not doing well. Like, I knew that, of course, because I'm unhappy and I like don't want to see people, and I kind of like, I hate everybody, and like I'm miserable. Like that's already kind of an obvious answer.
No,
but like someone to be like, I don't think you're okay. Same
Yeah.
thing what I did to Hanur, right?
Right.
Yeah. So that was like already helpful. And I think when you kind of charted out for me, okay, it's, Steph, you're a 7 and 7s usually need this. I didn't even know. I was like, and then, when I sat with it, I was like, I do need all those things. I wish I could remember all of like those key points that we went over, but I remember like feeling very heard and understood, and like understanding like, this was a really tough season for me. It's maybe even especially as a 7, and like, I'm not okay. So that was helpful, because then I went back to Seattle and was pushing through with work, and then just had more incidents and more escalations where a lot of tears shed. And then, you know, by God's grace, like Hanur got a job right away.
Yeah.
So for like a month or two, we were both working and I was like, I can't quit. He just now got a job. We like finally have dual income for like our expensive Seattle house and like our expensive life. But there was like a bad incident at work where Hanur kind of sat me down too. And he was like, doing the reverse, right? Of like, I think it's time. And I was also ready. You know, I had been thinking about quitting for so long, but couldn't because I felt the burden of taking care of us. So, yeah.
And one of the things for you in stress goes to a type 1 where you do become more critical, maybe even self-critical, look at those imperfections, but definitely impose restrictions and limitations on yourself. And so I think even like as I was starting to hear what you were doing, like obviously as adults, you have to be more like boundaried and put limitations, but there's a difference from that type of maturing and just like your season. And that's when I was like, oh my gosh, like, I don't know. Like, I'm so glad that he was able to then open the doors for you because of that, like, partnership and empowering one another to know that you can now not be so self-imposing or self-restricting and, like, take this time.
Yeah.
So with that, what did you decide to I remember I had met with Hanur once during the original, like, your first month or two off.
Yeah. You mean, like, via Zoom?
Yeah. And he was like, yeah, I mean, like, it's just like when I was on my break, I just laid down. She's on her break. She's doing this, and this. I'm like, he was like, oh no. But you know, that's you and that's what you need. And like you were doing it in your creative way. So would love to hear.
Yeah. So I have been not working at like a corporate job for maybe 3 months now. And it's kind of weird because to be honest, like I haven't been resting that much, ironically, because
no time for me. I was like, hey, you want to just come over? I have to film. Okay.
Because something that I would like dream of in the dark season of like Hanur and my marriage was I would really enjoy making videos or TikToks of just like literally anything.
Yeah.
Like food stuff, comedy stuff, or like trying to make pretty vlogs, like anything. And I just really enjoyed doing that. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do that like when I quit. And by that point, I also like a couple of my videos had performed really well. Maybe like, I don't know, 1,000, 2,000 views where I would like do something funny about like Korean culture or like Korean American stuff. So I was like, oh, I'll just do more like Korean American culture stuff. And then, so when I quit, I was like, you know, didn't have a following or anything, but like still enjoyed making videos. Like my friends would follow me and comment and stuff. But that was like my exciting joy to like, okay, I'm gonna quit, make no money, I'm just gonna make videos for fun, and like made myself a video, like a content schedule, and like posting every day, like planning things out. So yeah, that's what I have been doing for like three months now.
And I'd like to say that you said 1,000, but I would scoff that that's like chump change today with over millions of views on some of your amazing videos. What kind of
11 million views on one of her YouTube shorts.
Which one?
The Sundae one. I posted
the picture
that
one.
I posted that on YouTube. That one's at like 11 million views.
I will say for sevens, it's so like it's like this is dichotomy the word? But you know, like they seem so free and spirited, but in their utmost health, they actually like more private things, but also being able to make those schedules and keep those priorities. And I feel like when you're able to do it in this experience you love, right, which is the content creating, then you can make it successful like crazy. But that's because you have that organizational skill and like the depth that sometimes we can sleep on sevens because we think they're just like, oh, the fun ones, you know? So I feel like this is like all of it.
I know. And you know what I can't discredit is like corporate life. Right. I was a like project manager for a lot of my career. And that's like what I lived and breathed was like schedules, timelines, like project, like management of like different factors, pushing, you know, like all those things. So it kind of built that muscle, I think, for sure. I mean, Unji, you knew me in college. I probably couldn't have done it in college. Like I was much more free of like, I hated schedules, like I hated stuff, but that kind of job and the stress of that kind of maybe forced that in me. I don't know, maybe that was God's way of like making me practice.
True. And actually, well, I know a lot of are project and product managers similar or no?
Not as similar.
Okay, never mind. The last thing I went to had like PMs in project and product for the corporate presentation I was doing. A lot of sevens were in my session. And then like...
I'm not surprised actually.
Yeah, like I just feel like that's a good maybe a good one, as long as it's not a toxic space, because it helps balance with like
I think
creating
so.
and stuff too. Anyways, what is your vision with Tress? Can you tell us the name and
Yes.
where you came up with it? And
Yes.
Yeah.
So I made videos with my grandmothers during COVID, like, almost 3 years ago now, almost 4. And I loved making videos with them. Those videos actually did kind of well. But
Yeah.
so I am in a very unique and blessed situation where my maternal grandmother and my paternal grandmother are friends, and they're also both alive. Like, who not a lot of people are able to say either of those statements. And I recognize like I'm in such a unique and like blessed, privileged like position, and I'm also close to both of them. So then they both live in like the same city and like where my parents are. So all of these
So
things,
y'all are gonna move back. Anyways, continue.
so all of these things, and I was like, you know what, I love them so much, and they grew up in a war-torn country, like extremely poor. One of my grandmothers was like a North Korean refugee, like basically like homeless, for a lot of her childhood. Like, so, I like listen to their stories all the time and love like learning about their life, and kind of realize, you know what, like, how do I honor them and something that I'm passionate about, and like wanting to live my life to the fullest, maybe given the opportunities that they were never given. So that's why I came up with Tressini, because my paternal grandmother's name is Tressissa and my maternal grandmother's name is Uni. So I just kind of stuck their names together in Tressuni, and it's nice because like,
What is Tressissa?
oh my gosh,
that
funny
her
story.
name? Oh.
Both my grandmothers are very devout Catholics.
Okay.
And my grandmother, when she immigrated here in the, I don't know, early 80s or late 70s.
It's like Mother Teresa.
Yes. She wanted Teresa as her name, but she didn't
spelled it
spell.
wrong. Oh
She went to
my
the DMV and she spelled it Tressissa. So that became her legal official English name on like all of her paperwork or whatever. And so like funny that then now I'm using that name.
Yeah.
So yes, it's supposed to be Teresa, but now it's Tressissa and now Tressuni. But it's good. I love that name because like a lot of people try to interpret it in other ways, but I don't know, it just motivates me and like reminds me like I should be so thankful like for being born when we were with like technology to be able to make videos, like to like, I don't know, choose my husband. Like, neither of them did arranged marriages, but you know what I mean? Like they just
allude back to your Hamburg video.
But yes, it's like a way for me to honor them, but also to remind myself like not a lot of girls get to be where like we are and I am today. So just to like take advantage of that.
Yeah. Actually, like, Steph's content is very funny and like relatable. And so when I see some comments that are truly strangers, there's so much impact that she has because it's not just funny, but then it's like practical too. And I think that's the power of sevens. But you also from time to time, and it's like one of the growth sides is tapping into your type 5 of focusing on the inner world and accepting both the good and bad, happy and sad. And so I feel like something you've done is take all those negative things and shine it in a good light, but accept those feelings. And your most recent video about just like when this project really started and then like how now it's like into this, I think it just reflects almost the growth you did. So like rather than having to speak about it, it's like that video shows for itself like where you've come.
And what's so scary, Angie? Like human greed is, I'm like definitely experiencing now because early in January when I was at like 170 followers, most of my friends were like, I would just be like, I just want one video to like go viral. I just want to get to like 1,000 and I'll be like, oh, that's like literally all I want. I'll tell you on Instagram, I'm over 60,000 followers and like, I'm so happy. But then there's a part of me that's like, okay, can't wait till 100. Like who's to say I'm going to get to 100? You know what I'm saying? Like stop taking things for granted. Like I sense that in me so much. Or like my videos now all of them perform pretty well. And especially for my following, which in the grand scheme of things is more like a micro influencer. But like, I'm like, oh, like this one didn't get like 1 million. Like, what? It's just so quick. It's in a matter of 3 months that I'm already like addicted to that. And like, it's not enough.
Yeah. And I think it's helpful to recognize, especially for sevens, there is an analogy to like cotton candy. And if you keep picking at the cotton candy, you want to eat it, but it's never fully filling in your stomach type of thing. And it's natural for that greed to be there. And so then being aware of it and then still pulling it back to your why.
Yeah.
Right. And like your videos still point to that.
Wait,
which is like really powerful.
That reminds me, Angie, sorry, back to that earlier question you were saying about when we talked, like what were some things?
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. So you told me sevens. Actually, it resonated with me so much. I told a lot of my other seven friends. Sevens are really bad at living in the present.
Right.
You told me like sevens either live in the past or in the future, like wishing for this or that from back then, or like, oh, I can't wait till X, Y, and Z in the future. Instead of like really trying to like be happy now.
Yeah.
Like that was also like, oh my God, it like spoke to me so much.
Yeah.
And I think that helped kind of even today, reminding me like, I should be so happy right now. I like quitted the job I was like so miserable at. Like I'm doing something that's like really fun for me and I think I'm kind of good at, like all these things. So yeah, that's definitely like a seven thing that I'm trying to like be not blind about.
Yeah. I think before when it was like your secret thing, but I just found all of your secret accounts, I'd be like, how would she want me to support this one? Because like I'm a 2.
You would always ask me like, can I tag you?
Yeah.
Or like,
what's
do you
your
want me
vision
not
for
share it?
And then now I'm like, okay, well you got 60 plus K, so I'm going to share whatever I want and I don't care. But yeah, so that's awesome. Okay. So I know they got golf to do soon. And then they have friends to meet after. And Hanur is also working right now. We got a busy life, guys. So is there anything else you would like to share within your personal journeys? Even like, obviously it's intertwined together. Did you want to share any like hopes with Treseni or?
I mean, so I will say like, I'm not making enough money to live off of it right now is what I'll say. But the hope is that I could.
Yeah.
I don't know when or how, but maybe one day. That's the hope. That's like something I don't want to like idolize it, but I wish for. Yeah.
I mean, in college, YouTube was the thing, and
Yeah.
you had once shared that. I mean, it still is, right? Kind of.
It-
but,
yeah, kind of is.
You want to be like a YouTube talk show host. I don't even remember you saying that.
I remember that.
And so when like I see these things, and you're just able to adapt it to the current times, like
Right, the
for me,
trends.
I think I would be stuck on YouTube because I'm not good at like the quick adapting, which you are. And so it's really cool to see that you are getting to do those things in like current day. And
Yeah.
so like as you like adjust and learn the trends, like you'll be able to
Yeah.
hopefully
Hope
do
so.
those dreams. Yeah.
We'll see.
My just anecdote is that Enneagram is really good. And I think Steph and I have like we've done like Myers-Briggs and MBTI, and those were very just like fun. Sometimes you just do it for like with friends, sometimes you do it with like work. But I feel like Enneagrams have really helped me understand myself better. And it's almost, I don't think anything in any one singular thing is therapy. I think there's like a lot of things that are like therapeutic and therapy. But I feel like the thing that has been most helpful for me and for my personal growth has been Enneagrams. And it's because I'm able to like, I don't know, it's a way for me to learn more about myself. And something that Unji said to me or Josephine, or I don't know what color commentary.
Joey says something I'm trying to.
Joey told me is that like your MBTI can change, your Myers-Briggs can change, but Enneagrams at its core, like that's who you are and doesn't change. And I think having that kind of concrete like theory behind it has helped me because I believe in it because like a lot of the things that I work through with Joey has like really has been true and it's been helpful and I've seen a lot of progress. So I'm also just thankful for like it really is like a miracle for timing and for everything to have happened the way that it did. Even with COVID, like the silver lining is like, you know, there's a lot of silver linings. And I feel really blessed. Steph feels hopefully really blessed. She's shaking her head yes. And yeah, we're just like super grateful for these seasons in life. I think now that we're in our 30s now, we're realizing that it's not always up and there's a lot of downs and to kind of be on the up again and realizing that, yeah, life is going to be a roller coaster, but as long as you're kind of progressing, surrounding yourself with like good people and just taking care of yourself.
Yeah. There's a lot of great really people in Dallas just to help further your growth.
The whole theme of our visit, this trip was everyone telling us to move back. So we'll see.
And I mean, I think you guys have been having a great time here. Okay. Quick point of practical tip if you have one. If not, we can finish it out with the game. One, what's an advice you have being married to a type 3 or a type 7? And then 2, like in your specific things, like for you, what is maybe some advice you have as a micro influencer, like if someone wants to kind of tap into that field? And for Hanur, you had shared once in like some of those interesting practices you kind of put in, like the cold shower or something, you know, like, do you want to share one of those? Kind of like fun.
Yeah, I can go first.
Yeah.
So one advice for living with, as a 3 living with a 7 is you have to take care of yourself in order to take care of somebody else. I think it's really hard to do both. I mean, at least just for me. It was tough for me to see Steph having a hard time while I was getting better, but I also knew that I needed to get better before I could take care of her. It's not like I almost have to ask Steph to be patient. And so, yeah, I mean, that's my advice. It's
That's very against our culture too. Because it's very like, even if you're not good, take care of others. And so, so like even as you were kind of sharing the fears, like I feel like that's the takeaway that doesn't resonate with a lot of us because we don't know what that means. So that's a really good point to share. Wow.
Yeah, thank you. And then, about the point of
The practices.
I realized as a 3, Enjoy telling me that it's about like, it's really about how you view yourself and how others view you. And I realized I didn't have a lot of self-confidence and I didn't like who I had become in the last 10, 15 years. And so I almost made an image for myself of like, I want to start doing things that I don't want to do. Because I feel like I had fallen into the cycle of I only do things that are like, make me happy or appease me for like in the short term. And so a couple of things, a couple of habits, I started to take cold showers. Well, not cold showers, cold rinses. Because I want to start off my day by just doing something that I don't want to do. Like I don't want to be in a cold shower. But that's helped me. I think there's also a lot of like stuff going on in social media about like the health benefits. But for me, it's just more of a mindset of like, I start off the day doing something that I really didn't want to do. Mm-hmm. And I think that helps carry kind of that mindset throughout the day so that I am able to continue to progress and better myself.
Yeah.
For me, I'll start with the being married to a 3 part. One thing is I thought words of affirmation, I think for the longest time, I just thought it was like compliments. So he and I would get in a lot of arguments and tiffs because he'd be like, you never like affirm me. I'm like, what? I tell him he's handsome every day. I tell him like, like he's funny or like that shirt looks really good on him or, you know what I'm saying? Like, I was like, what the, like, I didn't understand. And don't get me wrong. I think that's still needed. Like to tell someone they're beautiful or handsome or like all this stuff. But I noticed Hanur gets super like happy and I can see he's like filled with like, oh, like he's beaming whenever I really affirm like something he did, if that makes sense. Yeah. So if he went out of his way to help me with something or help someone else, or he's doing something like to work on himself, like to really tell him like, I admire that, or I appreciate that, or it's not just about saying thank you, but like, oh my gosh, you doing that really helped me. Like I didn't realize I was so bad at that. And to be honest, it's kind of awkward for me. Like I think I'm okay with it with friends, but maybe even with family and your husband being your family, it's just in close quarters, it gets more awkward. Like, and even with my sister, like if I imagine like sitting her down being like, oh, Ash, like, you doing this, like, it's just a little awkward. So, it can be. So that's something like I worked on. I've noticed he's really appreciated if I try to affirm him and like things he's done and like his accomplishments. The other thing too is like I can be kind of like critical and controlling, like a lot of wives, let's be real. And I'm trying like when I let go and kind of let him thrive in some scenarios where I'm like, ooh, I wouldn't do it that way, or like I don't really agree with how he's like planning this trip or like how he's planning this thing with friends or whatever, but like letting him thrive and like do his thing and actually seeing that is actually probably better than maybe the way I would have done it. I don't know. Like letting the strings go and letting him thrive was something I've been learning too. Okay, so micro influencer life.
Yeah. Let me tell you, it's not like I didn't try to be a momfluencer at one point and I said no thank you anymore.
Oh gosh, I only have like really cliche things, but it's because
Sometimes you
they're
need to hear
true.
it, yeah.
Yeah. But like, you really can't care about what people think. Oh, something that I think people are very impressed by me is I get mean comments all the time, by the way. Oh yeah. Like, and a lot of them get like a lot of likes sometimes. Like it's like, it happens. And, I really try not to let it phase me or scare me.
Right.
So that's something I like, to not
didn't
be
know
afraid
that,
of that. Yeah, of course.
I guess that makes sense. My protector side is like, what?
Yeah, that's like a thing to like stop being scared. Also, like, if your reason for not making content is just because like you don't really enjoy making videos or taking photos or like posting, that's a very fair reason to not do it. But if your reason is like, oh, I'm scared what people are gonna think, what if I'm cringy, what if like I get mean comments, like, I don't know, all those other thoughts. If those are the reasons that's holding you back, you definitely should try for whatever type of content you want, because that's like stupid reasons that I think you'll regret not trying. Yeah.
I usually don't interact with the influencers I follow. Like, if I follow videos, I'm like, haha, and like most I'll do is like, you know, but I comment because you're like my friend too.
Yeah.
And I'm like, every day if I'm on Instagram, you got a notification, someone liked your comment, and I'm like, oh, this is what it feels like to like interact with influence, you know, because there's like those comments and like my comment if this, and I'm like, oh, I like that my comment to your video was well received or something.
Oh yeah, I've noticed a couple of your comments get a lot of likes.
Yeah, and like I still get like one of the likes from your for the woman way back when with the rice, the pot making one.
What did you do again?
I just said something about
the hair.
maybe that was it or something. Yeah. Like, oh, you're married because of the hair, you know? And then I just think about talking to you about it, but then like constantly I still get likes for my comment. Anyways, so it's very interesting. I was like, oh wow, my friend is an influencer, so that's what this means. But I really enjoy it. And I was telling Steph, and I think her family agrees, was that we get to just see what's going on in her life since she's so far away. And so just her posting makes people like us happy to like kind of just, oh, she's doing good, and like she's being creative in herself.
Yeah. Yeah, because I will say in my personal Instagram, I stopped posting when like I was having a hard time, because like I said, like everything pissed me off. So I like,
and
didn't
like the relational side in me was like, I want her to post, like I want to know what's going on in her life. And like I don't want to like, we're not the best like phone all the time people, and like social media kind of makes that shortcut happen. And you weren't posting, and I was like, oh All right, we'll close it out with a quick game. This is going to be hard because I feel like I don't know the answer for almost all of these, but it's a quick like, who's this or that, and then we'll end with the fruit.
Okay.
All right. So I'll say 1, 2, 3 after I ask, and you'll say the name you think does it. Who's funnier? 1, 2, 3.
Him.
Me.
I think for most people that's like a great thing, but since Steph is so funny, I bet it's hard. Okay. Who is the travel planner or like the travel leader? 1, 2, 3.
Hanur.
Who's the better cook? 1, 2, 3.
Me.
Oh.
Hanur, your skills have gone downhill a little bit. Let's be real.
I'm a 3. That's hurtful.
Unlike the Enneagram, this can change. I would say like a few years ago, I for sure pick Hanur, but I mean, your whole content is on these amazing cooking thing. Like I'm like, I didn't have this stuff in college.
No,
cooking
it started only like a couple years ago.
I didn't have it at the beginning of our marriage either. Okay.
Okay, who keeps the home clean? 1, 2, 3.
Me.
Steph.
Okay. Who will throw it down at a karaoke bar? I don't know. 1, 2, 3.
Steph.
You already know.
Who apologizes first in this new season?
Okay.
1, 2, 3.
Hanur.
Oh.
It used to be me, but now it's Hanur.
Oh, see, I love that. Okay. Do you wish she was doing it just wait a second. Who is the more romantic one? 1, 2, 3.
Hanur.
Aww. Who's the Yeja and who's the Namja in the relationship? And then last, just who, if you could describe your relationship in a fruit, what would it be and why?
I would say we're like a pineapple.
Oh.
Because on the outside, it's very hard and sometimes prickly. But once you open it up, it's usually sweet. Sometimes, it's a little unripened. But usually it's very sweet, it's very soft, and like it's a very addicting, and like it's just good. But on the outside, it's hard to get on the inside. And I think That's kind of how I would describe our marriage at first. Like, hopefully, like at the beginning, it was like very hard and rough, and like you can't see what's inside. Like you don't know what's inside. And then now I think we're starting to see what kind of fruit is inside. It's very sweet, and like, yeah, that's why I would think it's a pineapple.
Okay, my answer
Is it a pineapple?
is a watermelon. Okay, because I like kind of opposite reasons. So for a lot of the seasons where it was really tough for us, until I voiced it to a lot of our friends, because like I told you, we weren't really telling people it was hard because, you know, Hannah wanted to keep it private for a bit. A lot of our friends like really didn't know. Like they kind of knew, like, oh, like, you know, and even our friends' family was just like, oh, Hannah's sleeping a lot. Like, but no one really knew it was that hard. And I feel like watermelons, sometimes you can't tell when it's not ripe. You know what I'm saying? Like picking out good watermelons is a skill. So I feel like a lot of people like couldn't tell with us. But I think we've ripened a lot and we've gotten really sweet and fresh and juicy over the season.
Oh, juicy.
Letting it.
Do you guys eat the black seeds or no?
Oh yeah, and then there's some seeds in there that we gotta, you know, clean out or spit out. But yeah, that's like what I thought of watermelon.
I like that. I like both of those. Well, thank you guys so much for making time for this podcast episode. I had so much fun catching up.
This is so fun.
Yeah.
It
Y'all?
was very fun.
Was it?
I know. I'm like, I don't know. That was very convincing.
Like Steph came over one time before to say like on spontaneity. I was so happy, and I wanted to like ask her all these questions. I was like, no, save it for the podcast. So like I feel like we got to catch up. So it really fills my relational side too.
Yeah.
But I hope to have you guys back on someday.
Yeah.
And
I want to do a part 2.
Yeah. Oh, I feel like we have many layers we can touch with you guys. A lot of wealth of experiences. So yeah, we'll definitely have you guys back on. Follow at TRESSUNI.
Follow Tresuni
On all the platforms. There are so many of them. You can't miss it. All right. Thank you for listening to another episode of
Color Commentary.